Are you? I'm out of it.
Okay.
It's just over.
Oh, okay. So I want to welcome everybody here, or very few in numbers, but we will get more when we send out the recording. So I'm recording now so they can hear everything that we're going to talk about. First of all, welcome to our newest. Oh yeah, oh, that's okay. It'll be easier to hear. Okay, I think it's going to even when it's yeah. Okay. So we'll see if this works better. So I wanted to welcome Lisa, who is one of our newest caregivers. We're so excited. So because there's so many here. And then Sam. And I am demonstrating our kind of transfer device. We'll have you come here, no, not right now, in a minute. That we'd like caregivers to know about. So if you have a transfer client, you're like, oh, that would probably work for them. So that everybody knows about it. And we have it here, and you can borrow it, take it to the client's home for as long as you need it. And then something that we always remind you guys of, but everybody needs to be clocking in and clocking out. If you have a problem with it, just let us know. But otherwise, that's how we track your time. That's how we bill our clients. So we just need to make sure that you're always clocking in and out. And we also need to make sure that we're always documenting. So the documentation is so important for so many reasons. You know, if there's family that is not in the home, they can go back and see later what you've done with their loved one. Also, it's a state requirement. Also, it's long-term care insurance requirement. And so it's just really important to document. It's kind of hard, you know, you're ready to leave your shift, but it's so important for us to continue, you know, in a good way with the state and with family members and with insurance. And then our next in-service, just keep it on your radar, is going to be September 29th. So it's kind of late in the month because we have 3 paydays in September. So it'll be the last. And I just wanted to let you guys know of, which you've probably got an email, but I'll just remind you, our caregiver of the quarter, who is Michaela. And unfortunately, she left us already. She's been with us for a while, but she is moving on. Her husband going to medical school, so they moved to Wyoming. But she was just such a great caregiver, and she always showed up on time. Communicated with the office when changes were needed. So important that so we know what's going on. Because you're our eyes and ears in the home. So if you don't tell us, then we don't know. And so it's always good to have that communication. And then 2 caregivers of the month. One is Oromoto. Hi, come on in. And she is an exceptional and concerned caregiver. She just loves all of her plans. She's been with Aspen for over 10 years. She is really busy with another full-time job, and she works like more than part-time for us as well. And she really cares for our clients. We're grateful to have her over here. And then next one is Alex. She's new to us, but she's just really stuck up. She at the beginning of the summer. She's just amazing with her time. She was above and beyond on every shift, and she's always willing to take last minute shifts, which is so helpful to us because, you know, people get sick or, you know, things like that at the last minute, and so it's nice that people step up and go on. Another, sorry, my phone, or we need to get a wireless one. I just wanted to share with you, we got a thank you note from one of our clients' husbands, and she just recently passed away, but I get thank you notes every once in a while, and like pass on to the caregivers, because you're the ones that they're talking about, you know. And so he said, your care over for the loving, tender, as well as skilled care given our seminary over the past 5 years on community. And the Lord bless the work of the years to come. And we just really appreciate those thank yous, and they really do appreciate you for helping them. Another thing, I'm so glad Sam's here. Because he's amazing. Whenever he goes with Augusta, he sends us pictures of what he's done, and he always checks in, and it's like I forgot to look my shirt, and this is what we did, and he sent us this picture, and I just wanted to show you guys. This is so cute. He's out there trimming the bushes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we love to hear how you guys are doing with your clients. It's always fun. Questions, right? Well, you know that we always have open door policy, so you guys can have any questions, comments, or suggestions. We love it because we're all learning every day, right? So what I'm going to have next is for Diane to come up and show us this transfer thing, and then after that, Teresa will introduce our presenters. We're so glad you came. Okay. Oh, this way. You didn't want to use it, but you want to use it.
Okay, I think we took it back. Well,
Oh, no, it's
a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Just because you're usually transferring from a bed to, whatever.
Yeah.
We haven't used it with another walker yet, but it would be the same principle.
So, well, also, I forgot to say, Leanne's husband came up with this idea, and we just thought it was genius, so we had to make us one.
Yes. And, and we can make more. So if you have a client that you're like, oh, well, and the idea was to keep it cheap.
Yeah.
So it's a little heavy because it's not as expensive
Right.
if we made it one free. But it costs about $100. So that's basically what it costs us to make.
Yeah.
So it's very generous. Call us and we can come be my team. When you sit on the front row.
I know that's my really.
Okay, so I just want you to be our wheelchair person. And move the brakes on. And you're gonna transfer. Okay. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to see.
I have to turn her that way and have,
Allison, have you turn this way? Otherwise, I'd have made Tori do it.
Thank you, Allison.
Okay. So the thing to remember is that you still want to use, you can try to lift them with their hands up here, but as we all know, that's not the way you properly lift. Sometimes you have them get up. So you want to I always tell them, make sure you get strong arms. Show them sometimes how I can lift myself up just with my arms to get them to realize that their arms can really help them. So first we're going to help you up. And you've got your feet back because we're not wanting you to step on this yet. We're just going to help you up. So, of course, 1, 2, 3, we get you up. Then you put your hands on here. Step up on here. And at this point, the client I use this with is pretty much dead weight. He can hold himself up, but which is why we came up with this, because I could not help him turn because I couldn't turn, because I needed my feet planted where they were. But this way, so I pull this out, there's a hole that holds it together. Pull it out. Yeah. Break it out, but I've got one.
I didn't know what to expect.
But I'm like, I have one flip on it, kind of helping it. And I can, yeah, well, here. We'll do it this way. So I can put my foot here. Well, in this case, because I don't want you to go that way. That's where we're going. But I can put my foot anywhere and can actually stop it. We do have holes programmed throughout it where you can actually put this in and lock it in place. But I'm finding that just with my foot, and because he's got something to hold on to, she has something to hold on to, I'm able to do it with just holding her in place with this arm. Because, before, if we had this, there wasn't anything for him to hold on to. You can't hold on to the wheelchair anymore because it's now too low. And anyway, so then you just go and get it where you need to go. I get it here, and I lock it, and I use my foot to keep it where it's gonna be. And then I just bring this up close and then fix it. And it spins all the way around, so whether or not you need, you know, so, and how much space you have. So right now, this one doesn't line up as perfectly because it has to be made, these are not all created equal, right? And this one was wider, and so it can't be an exact one, whereas the one we make for Clark matches it exactly. So that's why this one has a hole right there, so that it locks it in place there. So, because this is just a thing that stops. A hole plugger. I'm very technical. In fact, somebody said, "What are you going to call this?" And I said, "I call it a pivot tool. Because that's what I do." And I pivot. If you guys want to come up with something fancy marketing, we are not planning on getting a patent. No, if you want to copy it, make $1 million, go for it. My husband's like, "No, I don't want to make that." But it's very simple. We just got this at the DI. We got the wood. We got the strips so that they wouldn't slip on it. And the what's under there is just from Lowe's. It's a Lazy Susan thing. It helps it to rotate around and keep it smooth, and then it's just the hardware. So, I mean, they can probably just look at it and come look at this and then make their own. It's very simplistic, but so when he's done eating and I get him to the wheelchair and we want to get him in the chair, it's much easier to have him get on here, and then I turn him all the way around this way, and then he sits in his chair.
That's so much nicer because they have like more of a free.
Yes. Well, he's holding, I mean, even if he feels like he's shaking, he's holding on to something and he's not going to go down. Right. So, anyway, that probably took a lot more. Oh, no, that's great. Yeah. Oh, well, we don't use them anymore. It was, the idea was to put them in there and help slow it down. It's like when you jerked and you're like, oh. The idea was that.
I think the idea is to let them know what's going to happen.
I wasn't able to let you. I have to have my fun.
That's right. But the senior we would.
We are so lucky to hear from Raven today. She's from the Alzheimer's Association. She's going to talk about ways we can interact and care for Alzheimer's clients. So thank you, Raven.
Yay, Raven, we're happy to have you.
Let me just open my presentation of that, like, it decided to take a nap during the first part of the meeting. You're all kind of waking up right now. I usually want to take a nap in the afternoon. We're almost to that time of day, but hopefully I won't put you to sleep. Try not to. Okay. So thank you for having me. My name is Raven Albertson, and I'm the program director with the Utah chapter of Alzheimer's Association. So in that role, I support pretty much anyone else who supports people living with dementia in the state of Utah. So I'm here for you. We have a lot of ways we do that. A lot of it is education. This is one of our curriculum that I'll be showing you today. We have a lot of others. All of those curriculum trainings can be accessed on our website at training.alz.org. I know you guys won't remember. So if you would rather do the training online, if you're at home, you can go to that training.org and but we also do in-person presentations. We're always happy to do that. So if you ever want us to do that, we're happy to. Or if you have other groups, we do small groups, large groups. We have support groups all over the state, mostly dealing with family caregivers, but we can start a support group for any needs that is present. So if there's a specific group of people that need support, we would love to start another one. We're working on an early stage social engagement group in Utah County right now for people who have recently received their diagnosis and their care partners so that they can kind of navigate like now we have this diagnosis, what we can do. We also work with educating healthcare providers, trying to help make sure that they're doing training, doing diagnoses, and we love making sure that their communities are educated as well. There's actually special training for professionals like yourself. If you're interested, I can send you that part of our website. Whereas this is free, that one is formal education and training, and so it does have a fee involved, but the more people that do it, I think it's a discount. So just know that that's available, but we're also happy to do these free presentations. So that's me, and I'm a Utah County resident as well as a dementia caregiver myself. My grandmother passed away from Alzheimer's disease in 2008, and now my dad actually has signs and symptoms of a dementia. I'm not sure which one. I'm helping him, and so I have a little bit of, I guess, insight into what you all do, but on a very small scale. So I love to hear from you because only you know how this shows up for you on a daily basis, with the clients that you work with, and the history that you have, or maybe even in your personal life. Maybe that's what brought you to this, is helping people that you love as well. So maybe jumping around with my hands here with what I've got. The microphone, my notes, and the slides. So hopefully I can multitask with only one hand. But we are going to work on focusing improving our understanding of what does dementia behavior look like and mean, how we interpret it, and then how can we respond to it in a more supportive way, in a way that will really make our lives easier as well as care partners. Not just for them, but it also helps us because we know that this is a very hard task. And so hopefully this will give you some good tools for your tool belt. So things that we'll talk about are common triggers for dementia-related behaviors. Also, how we have actually designed a process for you to identify those and assess them, and then strategies for how to address them. So behavioral changes have a lot of different triggers, and just like with us, those of us who are not living with dementia, our behavior may show up for different reasons. Sometimes I'm rude to others. Right? I mean, we all do it. We all make mistakes. No one in this training is perfect, but we all do odd things sometimes. We snap at somebody. Maybe we give them a dirty look, or maybe we are kind of withdrawing from our social group or things like that. Like none of us are always like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, perfectly engaged with everyone around us, and that happens for different reasons. Last time you had a bad day, does anyone want to remember like maybe why you had a bad day and behaved differently than normal?
Lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep. Okay, good one. Any others? Do you remember?
I have another one.
Yeah. Okay, we're all just as guilty as you.
Pain in my leg where I can't walk, just, pain.
Oh, yeah, pain. Pain is a really important one to think about. So, hunger, lack of sleep, pain are very common things that all humans deal with. However, usually we have the capacity to be able to communicate that to somebody at least. Maybe we don't tell everyone what's going on with us, but we have like our people who are like, man, I really didn't get any sleep last night. Like I'm so grumpy, I don't want to be here. Or I'm starving, let's go get some food. And then you have the capacity to be able to just go get the food that you want. Can you imagine having all of those same, scope of emotions and feelings in your body, both emotionally, psychologically, and physically, but not you having the skills to communicate that? And it comes out in lots of different ways. And so it's almost like a different language in a way, interpreting, depending on the stage of dementia, understanding those behaviors. We start to look at behavior even more as a language, even though nonverbal communication is like huge for all of us. But it's even more important to do that when caring for someone living with dementia. So you can see some of the triggers where you might see behavioral changes in someone living with dementia. Pain or discomfort, being overstimulated was one we didn't mention. So they felt overstimulated. Sometimes maybe it's too loud in the room and like, oh, I wish I had some earplugs. Or even visually, it might be overstimulating, depending on what's going on around. I know the more LED screens they put up around the community, the more overstimulated I get out driving in the evening, for instance. Or the opposite end of that spectrum, being bored, understimulated. If you or I were bored, we probably turn on the TV or look at our phone or do something. But people that maybe don't have as much power or options to do things, like it might come out more just in behavior. So those are some common ones. Fear is another. Fear and frustration are two other really common ones for triggers for behavior change. Imagine, especially with someone living with dementia, that you're not sure who the people around you are. So fear, likelihood, welcome, come on in. Likelihood of feeling fearful is probably higher for someone living with dementia than someone who doesn't as an adult. Things you fear triggers that may not seem like something you or I are thinking about, like someone walking into a room. Or hearing noises behind you, and someone may be coming up on you from behind, from the side, could be more alarming. Feeling afraid in your surroundings because they would feel unfamiliar, because they often do, even if it is more that you live. You feel that way. Frustration is very also a huge common emotion that can cause a trigger. Can you imagine maybe some situations where the people that you're caring for might feel frustrated if they are living with dementia? Yeah.
I know one of the ladies that I used to help, she'd get frustrated because I would encourage her, well, let's go shower. Well, I already did it, but she was pulling on memories that you didn't shower your entire lifetime. So she could think, oh, I've already showered. That was a memory she could pull from. And no, you didn't shower.
Right.
No, not. You have to get creative.
So if you couldn't hear, she was talking about a client insisting that she showered when she had not showered that day. her memory she was pulling from that she had. And so, if you 100% believe that you'd showered today and someone keeps telling you that you didn't, it's pretty frustrating, right? Any other examples?
I had a client who would often couldn't come up with the words that she wanted to and got very frustrated. She could think them, but she couldn't verbalize them.
Okay, so trying to come up with the words that you're looking for, but not being able to, and not being able to communicate and express yourself in a way that you want. Very frustrating. Other causes of frustration might be not knowing how to do something that you're trying to do, and not understanding the process anymore. Maybe it was something you used to be able to do just fine, and that no longer feels natural in your mind, or it is newer. I mean, we're all surrounded by new technology all the time. It could be trying to use something new that you're not used to, or something that feels new. Generally, frustration, I feel like, is kind of just such an across the board one for living with dementia. So many frustrating things. Unfamiliar surroundings. So if you have to take someone out to an outing for an event or an appointment, that could be a trigger for them when they arrive. Also, like I mentioned, complicated tasks. And so it's good to kind of identify, some of the more common triggers, because this is going to help us to ask ourselves questions when we're noticing their behavior change, and then kind of go to some of these common triggers and say, like, could it be this? Could it be that? Yeah.
I think another one that maybe ought to be up there is feeling dumb.
Feeling dumb is
Because
another
they
one
know
that's
they
mentioned.
used to be able to do it. This
Yeah.
used to be easy for me. I used to be able to do that, and I can't. And I'm embarrassed. And I think that ought to be up there because I know I run into it a lot.
Yeah, so Diane shared running into a lot of people feeling like embarrassed or humiliated or dumb, but they can't do whatever it is, type of a thing, or just that their behavior is different. I know with my grandpa, he wasn't diagnosed with dementia, but I remember in his last stages of life, he did feel that, like, that kind of, I'm dumb or I'm worthless because I can't do things I'm normally doing. It's a really hard feeling. So thank you for sharing that. But, we all feel some levels of these types of things in our experiences. I'm sure it's so much more magnified for someone living with dementia because their whole world and their whole reality is so much closer to just where they are. Whereas you or I have so much, like a larger network that we interact with, and things that we're doing throughout our day. So these are good to, again, like, question. Understanding and addressing the behavior has 4 steps that we're gonna practice today. So the first step is to detect and connect. So detect is, I've noticed a behavior of some kind. I need to generally, like, understand better, increase my empathy for, and that way, the connect part kind of comes into play. So I'm going to connect with this person. That really means I'm going to place myself into their reality. I'm no longer going to see whatever's going on from my reality because they live in a different reality than I do. We just need to, like, accept that is the difference and always come from that as, like, our home base. Our reality and their reality are different, and each individual lives in their own reality. And so we need to meet them in that to start with this first step, to detect and connect. And so depending on the client or the person, their reality may be different, right? But whatever that is, we want to connect with it. Some ways that I like to do that are to actually physically go over to where the person is and see maybe, like, what do they see, feel, hear, smell, sense from where they're sitting. And that's the next step, actually, is addressing physical needs first. I'm going to go over there and kind of put myself in their shoes and find out if they have any physical needs that need to be addressed. When I physically go over to where they are, I can better tell, is there maybe a temperature difference where they're sitting? Is it cold? Is it hot? that. I can also find out if they might be dealing with any like thing that's triggering them visually or like from their point of view, things like that. We'll get more into that in a minute. So we're gonna go to physical needs first because that's safety. That's kind of lower if you think of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like safety, physical needs, food, shelter, all of that type of stuff is always first, and then we move on to emotional needs after, which is step 3. And then step 4 is just to make this a continual process, which is always reassess and plan for the next time. It's a learning process. This is not a plan for perfection. It is a plan for having the right tools to keep addressing the actual problem, the actual situation. When we don't do these steps, we might be, again, addressing it from our own reality, which is not the same. Okay, so joining their reality is really trying to see the world through their eyes. The more that you know this person and understand their history, the people that they care about, the things that they'd love to do, this will help you. There's a who, what, where, when, how, to understanding the reality and jumping into it. Again, because they might be living in their most recent memory that they're, interacting with might be from who knows when. And so it could have to do with loved ones from a long time ago. It could have to do with activities that they did before. There's a lot to consider, but also considering what just happened here. Because it could, again, be in the environment. It could have been a trigger that happened, remembering back to those triggers. There might have been a trigger that happened that caused them to go into a weird behavior. So understand their history, try to put yourself in their shoes, and also be aware of what took place during, before, during, and after. The other side of that is to eliminate any potential additional trigger, is to approach that person in a way that feels very soothing. That's what I mentioned, but it can be a trigger to come up from behind. So if you can approach from the front, making good eye contact, and having good, like, nonverbal communication that you're a safe person, you're going to set the tone for how that interaction goes. And so if you have an escalated tone, or like your body language is communicating that you're upset, they're more likely to match whatever it is. And so if you need to take a moment first to compose and be more deliberate in your body language, that is definitely worthwhile. You're going to set the tone for how that interaction goes, and they'll match you. So addressing physical needs first. What are some common physical needs we could look at right away if someone has an odd behavior, or behavior that might indicate something they have a need to be addressed?
Cold.
What was that?
Cold.
They might be cold, right? So maybe offer them a blanket. So questions, right? So, or just offering it and see if they take it. Or sometimes you might just like go ahead and like place it on their lap or near them so they can access whatever you might think solve the problem. So temperature changes. What would you do if maybe to find out if maybe they needed something? Offer a drink, maybe place a drink of water next to them, or help them take a drink, depending on where they're at with their symptoms and conditions. I would say it's never a bad idea to offer a drink of water, because most people that live with dementia don't drink enough water. And so that's a quick, easy kind of go-to, like, well, let's offer a drink as kind of part of the routine of making sure that they have what they need. Hunger again too, like as long as, I don't know, I guess there's not as long as, but like offering a snack couldn't hurt. of course, if they have specific medical conditions, then following anything that helps with that. But I was talking to another group and they talked about maybe co-existing conditions like diabetes and dementia, for instance. And so consider if they have any other coexisting conditions, and like that might cause their blood pressure or blood sugar to be affected, and address those when you're thinking about physical needs. Isn't it interesting that lack of social interaction is listed as a physical need? I think they're just saying, what can you see? Because emotional needs are things maybe not seen as much. But yeah, you could observe, like, has this person been around others? How much have they been around others? Let's just try helping them have a social interaction. Because obviously, like, even there's long-term effects, but also just immediate effects of feeling lonely or sad.
I think that can go both ways though. You know, if they've been somewhere where there's a lot of social interaction and they're not, that's not a typical thing for them. I know would tire.
So overstimulation or too much
she
interaction could be a thing too. Yeah.
would just physically get tired.
Mhm.
Trying to remember
Could cause
people's
physical
names
tiredness.
and
Yeah.
where she was and
Right. So there are factors to consider. I'm trying to think of anything that I missed. Hunger, pain, obviously is a big one. You know, what are some like body language things that might indicate that someone's feeling pain without saying it? Furrowed brow. Okay. What about with their extremities, their posture? They might be trying to comfort themselves, you know, hunching, putting their arms close, rocking. It's a coping activity. Yeah. Okay, good one to think about. So once we've made sure that we've addressed any physical needs, the next thing that we would move on to is emotional. So we're really just focusing on how is this person feeling, not facts. Like, it doesn't matter if it makes sense that they feel that way to you, right? So again, we're still trying to meet them in their reality, totally different reality than the one that we're in. What are they feeling? Again, I go back to observing someone's body language. You look at their face, facial expression, and see if you can detect, like, maybe what emotion are they displaying. Also their body language. You know that when I'm feeling down or whatever, I don't move my body nearly as much as I do when I'm happy, for instance. Would you say that's probably a good indicator? Like, how much activity am I noticing? Are they expressive in some way that's appropriate for them? Again, using your knowledge of that person's preferences. So the better you know them, the more you can detect the change. Is this their norm? And if not, could there be an emotional need that's not being met if all physical needs are being met? Does anyone have an example of something you observed, or has this ever shown up for you in your interactions? Yeah.
I had an older couple that I was helping with his wife, and she really didn't like it that someone was there in her house. It bothered her that there was someone doing things. I guess the same thing where you feel dumb. And she really resented anyone being there, and I was warned of this. So I went in and I had to finally learn to ask her. I thought, how do you do this? I said, how do you want me to wash your dishes? You know, is this the soap that you use, or how do you want me to clean the floor? How do you want me? You know, I was doing their breakfast and I was trying to help get her ready for the day. It was just a fight all along the way because it was her home and she was used to, she raised a family there and she was used to doing all of this herself, and so it was obvious that it was really irritating to her that someone that they're kind of taking over. And I walked in one day and I barely got through the front door and said hello and headed for the kitchen, and I heard her say to her husband, "This is a very sweet man, he's always embarrassed by things that he said." And I heard her say, "Is she leaving?" And he said, "No, she just got here." And so it quickly, you can see that they're kind of aware sometimes that things aren't normal and I can't handle it. I can't take care of it. I've always been able to. So sometimes you have to kind of figure out a way to get around that. And so as soon as I started asking her, "How do you do it? How do you want me to do this?" And she wasn't as irritated, helping as much.
I love what you shared so much. So for those that probably can hear on the recording, basically you're doing home care, right? And so coming in to help with household activities, the woman felt very annoyed that you were even there, and just very disgruntled about you being there clearly. And the way that you addressed it was to ask her and say, like, "How would you do this?" Task. I love that so much. It's such an empowering thing because she gets to still be the boss of her home. And you're helping. And I think too, like, it's a good opportunity to validate someone's feelings without you didn't even have to say to her, like, "I can see that me being here is frustrating you," but you acknowledged it by just talking to her and saying, like, "Hey, you just acknowledge, you included her in the activity." And I think that's really important for helping her feel seen and having her test whatever level of empowerment she could. And that is an emotional, or I would even say like a psychological need, is to feel that self-efficacy, like, I can do this, I can delegate it. It's a level of it, right? And so picking up on people and what they're communicating is really important. And this can be harder because you might not know what their history is. So the emotion that they're feeling could have to do with what's actually happening right now, like someone coming into their home to clean, but it also might have to do with something that happened in the past. Like, my grandma would always ask, "Where's Albert? Where's Albert?" And my grandpa was thinking with Albert. He had passed away before she went into the middle and late stages of dementia. And that was really emotionally distressing for her to not know where her husband was, or her dog, that had also passed away. And so sometimes it's an obvious connection, like they're actually bringing up where is somebody or what something happened that happened in the past. And then sometimes you don't know what it could be, but you have to consider that they are living in a reality that includes years past, and remembering that when you're addressing the emotional needs. So this is a tricky one, but maybe you guys are already experts on it. But remember we talked about focusing on their feelings, not facts. And so saying over and over every time my grandma asked where her husband was that he had passed away would be extremely distressing for her. She would have to relive that as a new experience over and over. Can you imagine? No, I cannot either. But I would not want to put anyone through that, and it's okay. They don't need you to correct their reality. Remember, they don't live in this reality. They live in a different reality, and they're going to stay in that other reality. And so it does not matter for us to tell them the facts of this one. It will only cause them distress. We're focused on how they feel. We want them to feel as good as possible. And so what do you think would be a good way to handle that type of a situation, for instance, when someone's asking where someone who's deceased is?
One of my clients, very often, she would say, "Where is my mom and dad? They were supposed to pick me up like a long time ago." And I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm not sure where they're at, but then I would come up with a question in regards to her mom and dad, like, did you grow up around here? Is your mom and dad from around here, or something like that? And so it kind of redirected her train of thought to that time of life, and she was able to tell me about her growing up and her parents, and instead of focusing on where are they? How come they haven't come to get me yet to pick me up, or, you know.
Well, what you said, Teresa, so you mentioned responding to an anxious statement with a question that helps them to feel like they can connect with whatever it is they're missing. And that's perfect. So we don't even have to, like, you know, make something up, but think a little bit lower on the depth of the situation. Like, why are they expressing what they're expressing? Because they miss that person, right? They want to connect with that person or that item or whatever it is, or that memory. And so how can we help them to connect with the thing that they miss right now? Ask them about it. Ask them, you know, what would you, I'm not sure, where where grandpa is right now, but like, what would you want to talk about with grandpa if he was here with us right now? Or what are some of your favorite things that you like to do with grandpa? Get them to give an opportunity for them to express and connect. And that actually helps meet the emotional need, because the emotional need is they are missing that person, right? They need a way of connecting. And so we can create that for them. I love that example. Also, it's as just a principle is to redirect that energy into more soothing activity, and that can happen. So it could be to, again, respond to whatever the emotional need is and help them to connect with it. It could be like, quickly asking them, like, what's something that you liked to do with, that person, and then maybe, well, we don't have that game, but like, would you like to play a card game? I'll play a card game with you, and then redirect it into something that maybe connects with what they were feeling, but like gives them something else to kind of distract. If you have to go, we're almost done, but if you have to walk out, don't feel bad. So the next step, the fourth step, briefly, I'll just cover is, reassess and plan for next time. How many mistakes have I made interacting with my dad so far, since I've noticed his symptoms of dementia? Quite a few. And I think that's pretty common. It is a learning process, and that is okay. It's a learning process. How many of you think to yourself, like, that you had more than one kid, and like you identified the first kid as like, this was my practice child? Because all of these things, caring for others, it's always practice, and we're always learning. And so give yourself a lot of grace as you're doing this, but stay connected to the tool.
Well, and also remembering that the person with dementia can respond differently to, he exhibits the same behavior, so you respond the way it worked last time, but it doesn't work this time. And it doesn't mean you did anything wrong, it's just they're in a different kind of mood, and so
Yeah.
You have to have quite a few tools in your belt of trying different ways, because what worked last time didn't work this time, and that has nothing to do with you and your skills.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is saying what works one time doesn't always work every other time, and so keep that one in your back pocket. But then know that you're going to have to keep learning new ways of interacting positively with this person and helping to meet their needs, helping to build empathy, and helping to find out ways that help them feel good. And that's really the ultimate goal: is how do I help this person feel good? There was a story that was shared where I think, it was a son and his mom had dementia, and she was always like really frustrated when she would see her kids, and they didn't really understand like how to address it, but it made it really hard for them to help her because she had so much frustration. one day, one of the sons identified, like, ask her to sing the song with you, and then just start singing it. And she would engage with music in ways that she wouldn't before, and it would help calm her emotions. And so they found out like music is a really great way to help address the emotional needs. And then they would use that a lot because they did find out that it was one that worked. Or maybe like dancing, or maybe card games, or, there's a lot of things that work really well with dementia related to music. So that's a good one to defer to if you're completely lost and you're like, I don't know. Think about the generation that this person is from. Maybe identify some pop culture stuff from when they grew up. Start there. If you're totally lost, it's a great place to go. We're out of time. So we went through all the steps, but if you want to know more about, again, any of our trainings or like go deeper into this training, this one is called Understanding and Responding to Dementia Related Behaviors. I know it's long. Just think behaviors and look for that one. All of this is on our website for free, training.alc.org. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. And my name is Raven, and I'm an Alzheimer's Association. And I think Teresa can help you connect with me if you have any other questions. I'd be happy to follow up with anyone individually. Thank you.
I just read. Here's what. Oh my gosh. Sarah going there taking credit for. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you.